Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in today's video we got a very simple little fabrication job to do. I think you've probably seen me use this tool in some of my previous videos. It's Capri brand, C-A-P-R-I. It is an import from Taiwan, not from the mainland but from Taiwan. And it is a hole punch. I've used this quite a few jobs here in the Tin Barn. I've been very well pleased with it. I learned right off the bat, when you're stamping a hole punch, when you're punching a hole in some thicker material, it's not a good idea to put it up against your belly and squeeze the handles, because when it goes through, if you got as much fat right there as I do, that'll leave a mark. But what I have determined with this, the only thing about it that's inconvenient to me is when you're pressing, getting the material in there, it's a wide gap to have to span across. My hands aren't that big. So what I've contemplated for, again, several years since I got this, was making some kind of a stand for this to go on. That way I've got this hand is free to position the material in, and this hand is free to actually put the pressure on the tool. I've looked at a lot of different things. There's nothing really symmetrical about this in that a good flat surfaces. And like I say, I've looked at or considered several different options of how to make a stand for this. But it dawned on me just a little while ago, I know you're all familiar with the KISS system, keep it simple, stupid. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the two holes, the drill and tapped holes that's in this already, fabricate a bracket that will go on the side of this that'll simply set down and tighten in the vise. That's all I need. Just something like this piece of flap on there, trimmed out around for the handle and so forth. But then this part simply clamping the vise. Let me get the camera a little closer and I'll give you some details on this punch. A little bit more detailed information on the sizes and where it came from. Alright, I just looked on Amazon, and this tool is still being sold on there. The only difference is, instead of blue handles, it's got green handles now. The kit cost about $35. Plus shipping, of course. Like I say, mine's got the blue handles. The one that's shown on Amazon now has green handles. It comes with a screwdriver. Comes with 7 different punches from 3/32 up to 9/32, and the metric equivalent of those is stamped in this as well. And for each of the punches, there is a corresponding die. Now, when I got this from Amazon, and again, it's been 2 or 3 years ago, but I was waiting on it to finish a project, and the package was damaged when I got it. I opened it up. It appeared everything was in there except the 9/32 die, the largest die. The punch was here for it. I think possibly it fell out in shipping somewhere. Not a size that I would use often. Pretty big for a hand punch in any case. But I continued to use it. Like I say, I was waiting on it to finish the job, and so I needed it the day that it came. But just within the last week or so, I contacted Capri Tools. They are actually based in California, I believe it is. The pamphlet came with a website and a phone number. I contacted them through the website, through an email, and told them I was missing my 9/32 die. They had the kit available for sale, but didn't have the individual pieces. And I asked the person that was corresponding with me on the email about just getting the die, and she said, "Let me check, and I'll get back with you." She did. They've got the die. It was $5.99 for the die itself, $5.99, and with shipping, come to about $10, which is a third of what the whole kit cost. But again, shipping is the biggest, one of the biggest parts of the total cost of an item. But in any case, it's on the way. I've got a shipping number, tracking number for it, and it should be here probably in about 4 or 5 more days. But I wanted to go ahead and get this video out. For today's video, we're going to use these 2 screws right here. This screw is meant for this depth gauge, the depth of the throat. It'll open up to a 1/4 inch thick. 16 gauge is about the most reasonable thickness I would ever try to punch with this. 16 gauge is a 1/16 of an inch, or about a little over 1.5 millimeters. And when I get ready to punch a hole, I don't use this gauge here at all. I'll simply take a piece of material, see if I can get this turned in the light, and get myself just hit it with the punch, just enough to get a starting hole. And then this die inside of here, I can feel around with this piece until I'm in that indent, and then punch my hole. So I'm not concerned about using up this hole for something else. This screw is used to change out the dies. When you remove this screw right here, this arm will slide back out of the way, and you can, as you see, the top of the dies have that shoulder on them. So this screw will still need to be accessible. It'll need to be considerably longer, and I think what I'm going to do with it is put these are 5mm holes. Put a longer screw in with a one of my knob heads, like you've seen me make several times here on this channel. So the first thing I want to do is lay out this hole position right here. Alright, there is a step difference in the height between this one and this one, but we're going to start out right now. I want this hole, I want the handle to be up high enough that this knob we're going to put on here will be behind the plate. So I'm going to just eyeball that, trying to keep that pretty much in line there, and come in here and simply put a little mark there. And that's where this hole will be. That hole needs to be from the edge let's go about 340 thousandths from the edge. So I'll mark that, and alright, let's turn over to the drill press now and drill us out a 5mm hole. Over here now at the Powermatic drill press, got a 5mm bit in. And I'm going to leave that bit in there because we'll have another hole to drill in this area. Right now I'm going to step right over to the little drill press and clean up the burr on that hole we just drilled. Got a small countersink bit in the drill press, little Power King. Now we'll turn back over to the workbench and get our other hole laid out. Alright, now we're going to remove this second screw so we can have access from the other side. We'll take our piece we just drilled. The screw that was used in there originally looks plenty long to use again. And just my eye, I'm going to kind of line that up. What I'm looking to line up is this plane right here with the straight edge of the mount we're making. Now I'm going to take one of my center punches or transfer punches and transfer this hole over. Just enough to transfer the hole. And while this is right here, I want to get a measurement for this space in between. And about 0.34 as far as length looks good. Don't really have anything that I can slide down in here to get an exact measurement, but I believe we got a little bit of a leeway there. So I'm going to step back over, drill this hole right quick. I'll drill this hole we just transferred here. You remember, your transfer punch is just to transfer the location. Then you can use a center punch to actually get you a lead in for your drill bit. So I'll be right back after I drill and clean up this hole. Alright, let's do a quick little test fit here. Again, we'll use our original screws for this hole. And see if this one lines up. This is just a socket head cap screw that I had in my 5mm drawer here, and lengthwise it looks like it's going to be just fine. A little bit sticking out over here, very, very little. So now I think what we're ready to do is make this spacer in between here, and again I'll just kind of eyeball that. I've got some adjustable parallels. I believe about 340 thousandths should be about right. So let's turn over to the mill now, or to the lathe now. This is a piece of 1/2 inch aluminum. We'll drill that for clearance for the 5mm, and then cut it off to our 0.340 length. Alright, I just turned over around here to the lathe and realized that I don't know what the last project I did on the lathe was, but there's a piece of 1/2 inch aluminum in there now. Already got a hole in the end. I suspect that was for a number 8 screw. we'll run this 5mm. And it don't look like that hole was dead on center. Possibly this piece was centered, taken out and put back in. But for a bushing, I think that'll be perfectly fine, because it's not going to be turning. All right, now let's put our parting tool and get it lined up. I'll zero out my Z-axis on the DRO, and we'll come in 340 thousandths. Now keep a little piece of wire, something like this, over here at the lathe. Put that in the chuck, and that'll just keep this piece from falling down in the drink. And hopefully you can see that caught our piece and kept it from falling down. All right, I'm going to ease that piece in to the chuck just enough to hold it where we can clean that burr up on the end. All right, let's turn back to the workbench. Back over here at the drill press now, and I'm going to put this 5mm in just because we already had it out. I'm going to drill the center hole in our little knob here, and then we're going to drill it out with this, I believe that's a 5/16, which is just a little smaller than the head on this socket head cap screw that we're going to press into this. And of course this piece is smaller than my hole in my drill plate, so just chink that up a little bit. And no, I'm not going to hold that with my hand. Got a pair of vice grips, channel locks. Just doing one side of this, the lead-in side, as I want this side to remain flush. Alright, I'm over at the press now. We've got our knob, got our socket head cap screw, and I just looked in my surplus bin and found this little piece that looks like about 1-inch material, got a 1/4-inch hole drilled through it, but I think that'll work fine to be a press drift. And there we have a knob made from a socket head cap screw and just a little piece of 1-inch aluminum that you've seen me turn on the mill using a bolt hole pattern. Let's go back to the workbench. Okay, remember how I said that this stuck out just a little bit on the other side of this? Well, I just added a washer in there which will keep the knob offset from the mount plate. So let's try our little bushing right here. Get all the pieces lined up. Looks like that lines up just fine. Not quite flush, but very close. And that washer keeps this knob offset from there just a little bit. Don't have to do a lot with this knob, only when changing punch sizes. Alright, so now that we've got that mounted, let's simply take our pencil and kind of lay out the tool itself on the mount. Then I think we'll go over to the bandsaw and cut off some of that excess. Alright, let's turn again to the bandsaw and cut this out and clean up the edges a little bit. Alright, I'm over at the Harbor Freight Porta bandsaw that you saw me in a previous video. Mount on a semi-permanent vertical stand. Now this is not a scroll saw, so I can't follow those curves real close with this 1/2-inch wide belt. But getting it close enough that we can take it over to the sander and clean it up. Alright, now I think we're ready to go in there to the 2x72 belt grinder and give this all some cleanup. Get rid of any sharp corners. I might go ahead and take care of, round off some of these corners right here before I leave. Actually, I think it'll be more controlled over on the sander. Alright, I carried this over to the 2x72 belt sander. Rounded the corners off anywhere there was a sharp corner. I also took a little bit off of this edge. This was 90 degree here. Took a little bit off of that, and you'll see why in just a moment. But just cleaned up everything, rounded up everything on the 2x72, then carried it over to the Scotch-Brite wheel and just eased these edges, cleaned up everything so there's no sharp edges anywhere. And also sanded out just a little bit right here. I realized in my throat it was hanging over the throat just a little bit, and I did not want to interfere with the depth. So let's put it together now. Alright, all that's tightened down. Got our bushing in here. 2 screws holding it together. Now let's set it in the vise and punch a couple holes with it. Okay, this is a 3-inch Craftsman vise here on the workbench. But we can just set our piece in here, set our mount in, clamp it down. You remember this was the piece of material that I punched a little hole in. We simply find that with the punch, and there we go. Everything's held into place. Now if I try to hold it with my fingers under there, it is going to pinch. Not any pinching from the mount, but there's just not that much space for fingers in there. So just have to press on the top. Excellent little punch. All right, let's swing back around to the workbench and do a quick recap. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is one of those projects that's been on my list for a long time. Just never got around to it, but more so been on the list for a long time because I kept trying to figure out some way I could make a mold to go around this handle to hold it. I didn't want to do modifications to the tool itself, which I have not. I've not modified anything on the tool. But I kept trying to come up with all these different things, different ways to hold this. And then, again, just keep it simple. Using 2 threaded holes that was already in there, piece of 1/8 inch thick aluminum sheet, and I got a simple little mount that works good. If you've got any need whatsoever, or think you've got any need whatsoever for a punch, for the money, for $35, I don't see how you can beat this little kit. It's got numerous dies with it, 7 different dies, 7 different punches. And the company, Capri, so far, unless something changes my mind in the next couple of days, they have been excellent to deal with. They've got my missing one en route now. And I just noticed another little thing. Remember I told you I cut this off so it wasn't at 90 anymore? I did that because look at there. It'll fit right back in the case. Of course the case won't shut. But the toolbox drawer that this went in was exactly this width. So I cut this off here to so it can set in there. The 2 pieces that I took off the tool, I can store up there, maybe the owner's manual, and this will just set in the drawer. So I hope you've got a little enjoyment maybe out of this video of a example of just keeping it simple. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.